Hi, my name's Antonia Williams, and today we're going to be talking about a subtopic of homeostasis, controlling body temperature. In this lesson, I'd like to cover three different things. Firstly, why is it so important? Secondly, where in the body this regulation takes place. And thirdly, how it happens. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to stop me and I'll explain further. So let's get started. Now, firstly, why is it so important? Can you think of a reason why we would need to control our body temperature? So the answer is enzymes. Now, in case you don't remember what enzymes are proteins that speed up chemical reactions. So, for example, in digestion, amylase is an enzyme that speeds up the breakdown of starch into sugars. We have lots of other enzymes in our body and they all do really, really important things. So we need to make sure that they're working as efficiently as possible. One of the ways of doing this is to make sure that the temperature of our body is at the optimum temperature for these enzymes. An optimum temperature is the temperature that the enzyme works best at. Now, for most of the enzymes in our body, this temperature is 37 degrees C. So that's why we need to keep our body temperature stable and at that level. Now, what about where this regulation takes place? Well, we have something called a thermoregulatory centre in our brain, and this has receptors in it. Receptors are things that detect stimuli or changes in an environment. So the receptors in our thermoregulatory centre detect the changes in the temperature of the blood that runs through the brain. We also have receptors in our skin, and our skin can send impulses to the thermoregulatory centre to let the brain know about the skin temperature. So let's move on to how it happens. Now, what happens if our body temperature is too high? Well, there's something called vasodilation. Now, right next to the surface of our skin, we have things called capillaries. Now, these capillaries are blood vessels, so lots of blood runs through them. When we're too hot, these capillaries grow wider, letting more blood run through. So therefore more heat is lost to the environment. So if I just draw that on, we have more blood runs through and more heat being lost to the environment. The other thing that happens when we're too hot is sweating. Now, sweat contains water, and this water needs to evaporate off the surface of our skin. Now, evaporation uses energy, and it gets this energy from our skin. So evaporation is a transfer of heat energy from our skin. Evaporation uses a transfer of heat energy from our skin to the environment. So both of these things cool us down or lower our body temperature. Now, what happens if we're too cold? Well, the opposite, vasoconstriction. So instead of these blood vessels, these capillaries getting wider, they get smaller and narrower, therefore allowing less blood to flow through. So less heat is lost to the environment. Oh, that didn't quite go right. Let me try again. There we go. So less heat is being lost to the environment. So another thing that happens is we stop sweating. So less sweat is produced, therefore less water is evaporating off the surface of our skin. So less heat energy is being transferred from our skin to the environment. The other thing that happens is shivering. Now, shivering is our skeletal muscles contracting and relaxing very, very quickly. The energy that it uses to do this comes from respiration, and some of this energy is released as heat, therefore warming us. So now you've looked at how these things happen. How can we change our body temperature to control it? So let's do a little quiz. So we start off at our optimum temperature. What happens if that goes too high, if our temperature gets too high? Can you remember the things that happen? Yeah, so we have vasodilation and sweating. And what happens if it gets too low? So vasoconstriction, stop sweating, and shivering, and all of these things will bring it back up to the optimum temperature. So I hope you feel like you've learnt a lot today. I hope you feel like you've learnt why this is so important, where this regulation takes place, and how it happens. Those 3 things that I set out at the beginning of the lesson. Thank you for learning with me, and goodbye.